everyone. Welcome to the first episode of Point of View. I'm so honored to be joined by Miranda Nelson. She is a model. She does all different types, and I am so excited to have her on here to kind of share her story and answer some of our questions. So let's jump in. How did you get into the modeling industry to begin with?
Cool. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. And I got into the modeling industry because really, honestly, a lot of people encouraged me to get into it. And so I was told, oh, you have you're the perfect body type and look for modeling. And honestly, before I was scouted by an agent, just individuals that kind of know the industry were like, you should really consider it. And then my heart kind of started to be drawn towards it, and I thought, oh, this would be fun. It would be cool to, just be involved in the fashion industry, in the fashion world. And so I just started, seeking ways that I could get involved. And then a manager found me and offered me a contract. And from there, I got contracts from agents in numerous places. San Diego, where I was living at the time, LA, Orange County, and then I got scouted in Sydney, Australia as well, of all places. Wow. So, yeah.
How long have you been modeling for?
About 7 years or 7.5, 8 years.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So what is your life like now as a model, especially since, I've especially started to notice this year your career is taken off quite a bit. So what is life as a model like?
Yeah. It's really interesting because this year for sure I've done so much international stuff. So up until now I was doing mostly local, a little bit of international. I did a catalog shoot in Barcelona, Spain a few years back for a designer there, and a little bit of international stuff, but mostly Southern California. This year I just kind of, actually a year ago, I felt like, I just had this unction that things were going to open up this year and internationally, and that's exactly what happened. Come January this year, 2018, I started getting calls for international jobs, and started getting booked for all the Fashion Week circuit. I did, Shanghai Fashion Week, I did Dubai, I did Madeira, Portugal, Cannes Film Festival. There's lots of fashion shows there, so that was a lot of fun. And then New York, London, Paris, and LA, of course. And so life as a model kind of has been is busy, is a lot of travel, a lot of turnaround. Sometimes I'm, off to the UK and then back a few days later to LA and then back on a plane to Paris and back. And so it's a lot of back and forth, a lot of travel. But you meet so many people, and that's one of the things I really love about it. So
yeah, it was funny because actually when you mentioned the Cannes Film Festival, I watch a bunch of different influencers on YouTube and stuff, and one of the YouTubers that was there has quite a bit of followers, and I actually saw you in the background of one of her videos.
Oh, no way!
And I was like, wait, I know her.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, that's awesome. So what's your favorite thing about modeling?
I love meeting the people. Of course, I love the actual modeling aspect of it. It's hard to choose if I like runway or print better because I love editorial. You get to do so many different looks and different styles, but I do love the fast pace of runway, quick changes. It makes it really exciting.
Is that a thing, quick changes?
Very quick. Sometimes I could be doing 10 looks between a couple of designers back to back to back.
Wow.
So it's very, when I was in London, I was walking in a Vogue show there, and the designer, I walked for one designer, but did 4 changes for her, and it was literally you have the clothing racks literally right behind the stage, right before behind the runway, and you're doing quick changes, you've got people that are helping you, and it's fast paced, but I like the fast pace of it. It's fun.
That's good.
Yeah.
Is that kind of stressful? Because in dance we kind of have our quick changes, and it's oh my god.
Definitely, everyone's kind of stressed backstage, and quick. Sometimes you have hard outfits that lots of lacing or difficult zippers or lots of layers, and so it can definitely be stressful, but I think it's a lot of fun.
Okay.
And it always works out.
Okay, yeah. What's your favorite designer that you've modeled for so far?
Man, I love Romire. That's the one that I did in London recently, and she is the brand is Romire. She's actually Russian speaking, but she's based in London, and she's a high fashion designer. And so I did her Vogue show. It was sponsored by Vogue, and there in London, and I like her a lot because she's just really sweet, down to earth, super fun, and you kind of, in the modeling industry, you see everything. Like, you see designers that are just angry, always stressed, like frustrated with everybody, and like you just have to be like the perfect little angel in order to not get on their bad side. But when you find a designer that is just so sweet, so kind, and like is really looking to the best of the model, that's a prize. It's a treasure. And so she's only one. There's a couple others I could name, like in Southern California, Lizette is also very, very sweet and high fashion couture, red carpet designer, as well as Nancy Vu I model for a lot, and same thing, couture and very, very kind.
So who is your dream designer that in the future you really are looking forward to hopefully modeling for?
I would love to model for Chanel.
Ooh.
I actually was offered a contract by, not Chanel, but by a top agent who works very closely with Chanel and Dior and a lot of those designers. But due to personal reasons, I turned the contract down. And so that was a little bit difficult because obviously knowing that was going to be pretty much instantaneous jobs with some of those, really prestigious designers, but that would be definitely a dream come true.
Yeah. So how do you stick to your morals? Because I know that you have a really strong moral compass, and I really admire that. That's something that I've always been inspired by from the time that I first met you, and something that's inspired me in my journey in dance. But how do you stick to your morals and your values when a lot of people around you are compromising, or some might ask you to compromise?
For sure. Yeah, obviously in the fashion world you get that all the time. You can be told to wear as much or little as that designer, wants to show. And of course I do have high morals, like you're saying, and standards. And so it's not easy, but a lot of the times, a lot of jobs, I do have to turn things down. And, I try to be very, very honoring and sensitive to the designer, or the producer in the case of like a big show that, I have to go to the producer. But usually it's the designer, and I'll just tell them, I'll just ask them very politely, I don't necessarily feel comfortable wearing this. Can I please wear something else? Or, sometimes they'll alter the outfit for me, like, layer things that are sheer or whatever. And so it makes me more comfortable. But yeah, I'm not afraid to say no. It's awkward, obviously. But I'm honest, I'm real. And, usually I just, I'll explain to them, like, for my faith, like I personally just don't have, I just don't feel comfortable showing myself that much. And so, yeah, I definitely, I just put it out there.
Yeah. So like how many designers out of 10 would you say on the spectrum, like, does that go over pretty well versus?
Honestly, I would say, 8 out of 10, they just look at me and they're like, yeah, no problem. Then that 20%, I'll get a little shout out at. Sometimes they'll tell me, well, then you're not wearing anything of mine and you're out of my show. And, because I don't react to them, and I'm just like, okay, no problem, I'm really sorry, but thank you anyway. And they always come back. I've always had them come back and be like, I want you to wear this after all. And they'll give me an outfit that I'm comfortable with. And so, but it's only like that 20% where I've actually gotten like a lash out at.
Okay. Well, that's not too bad.
Yeah, not bad.
So, I don't know if you can talk about this at all or, anything, but Can you talk about maybe some of the opportunities that you've received that you've maybe had to turn down because of your values, because of your morals, and, for what you stand for?
Yeah. Well, like I said, so actually when I was in Cannes at the film festival, I was offered that contract by one of the top agents out there in the modeling world, and ranked number one. Wow. And so I won't say any names, but it's obviously a top-notch agency. And met the head agent, and he really liked me, liked my look, everything, and offered me a contract right off the bat. I met him through the designer that I wasn't actually walking for her over there, but I was hanging out with her, with this particular designer. Walked in other shows, and but the designer that I was hanging out with, she introduced me to this agent, and the agent really liked me. And so, of course, like I said, offered me a contract, but wanted me to get body alterations, and specifically, in my breast implants, and I didn't feel comfortable with that. Right. And so and he specifically said, don't come back to me unless you're willing to do this. And I saw him the next day, actually, and he was all excited, thought that I was going to say yes, and was ready to take me on, take my measurements, everything. And so he was very, very shocked when I said, actually, no, I'm sorry, I can't do that. That's, I don't feel comfortable doing that. And it's really interesting because what he came back at, he got really mad at first and said, what? No girl ever tells me no. No model ever tells me no. Yeah. And I only work with the very best doctors, and, I'd make sure that, it wouldn't even be noticeable hardly at all. Yeah. So it would have been completely, he would have had it done through his, top-notch doctors and paid for, but it's outside of my comfort zone. And so I said no, and so I turned down the contract. And so that was definitely one of the things that was one of the biggest things this year that I turned down.
Yeah. What is that like mentally for you? Like, what, like, did you, because like you said, like you came back the next day and you were I'm sorry, I can't do that. Like, what was that thought process?
Yeah, to be honest, because of the, pretty much potential promise of walking for and working for some of, the most famous designers out there, of course, I was thinking about it. Right. And the designer that I was with, who I trust a lot, like I said, I wasn't walking for her at the time, but I trust her a lot. She's like, Miranda, there's nothing wrong with it. I think I would do it. And so her encouragement caused me to really think about something that it would have never crossed my mind in the past before. To be honest, that would be never a question, never a question in my mind. I would have never, ever even considered it. But her, because I trust her so much, I'm it made me definitely think. But through talking with a couple of other trusted people, they're like, Miranda, no, you absolutely cannot. Don't do that. And it made me really think. And so I was like, yeah, I can't do it. And that was kind of, basically over 24 hours, I was just thinking about it. No, less than that, 12 hours. Thinking about it, processing it, talking with literally only a few trusted people. And came to the conclusion that I couldn't do that for the contract.
Got it. As your career has begun to take off and stuff, you do a lot of magazine shoots and stuff. What's one of your favorites that you've modeled for? This year I was published several times in Harper's Baazar and in Elle, UK, and both of those magazines were highlights for me for sure. I got to model with live animals in both of them. One with big Great Danes, and that was fun. Actually, one of my favorite shoots was with the Great Danes, where I literally was it was windy. I was in
big gorgeous dresses. And at one point I was standing on totally not stationary, not stable logs. And like this stack of logs that were moving, and I was like on balancing beams in high, like 5-inch heels, holding Great Danes on leashes, and with the wind, and I'm like trying to balance and hold a pose all at the same time. And that's part of the fun, honestly, of photo shoots, magazine shoots, is like it takes skill, it takes balance. And like I got off those logs, I jumped off, and after I was done that setting, and my ankle literally gave in because of just the balance of having to hold myself up in those heels on those logs and everything. And so when I got off, like literally I had to take my heels off because my ankle gave in. But it wasn't injured or anything. It just got weak. Yeah, totally.
I get that.
So definitely, that was a Harper's Baazar shoot, and that was so much fun.
Okay, that's awesome. So these are some of the questions that came in from Instagram when I put it out there, and also a couple from Snapchat. Ellie asked, what type of modeling do you do?
Yeah, so I do a lot of runway. That's been the majority of my career up until, I've done prints all right through catalog and editorial, but runway's been like a huge majority. And then of course prints, editorial specifically, I do a little bit of catalog and commercial as well. But my favorites are runway and editorial print. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And then Kayla asks, do people ever offer you advice? Your fans or, Instagram or family, like, do they ever offer you advice about how you're supposed to go about your job?
Like posing and different things like that, I'm assuming?
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, what's really cool is, I guess, after a few years of experience, you get, like, so comfortable on set that, I hear the same thing from photographers, designers, and producers all the time, and they're like, how to move. They love, any photographer loves when a model knows how to like pose and move without having to be told, how to position yourself or how to, pose your eyes or your face or your hands or whatever. And so that's not necessarily advice from, someone in the industry, but that's an encouragement. And something that maybe I would suggest to models is to definitely practice posing. And when I was starting out, I did model training, I did runway and print, commercial, everything, acting as well, school. And so one of the things that I remember learning back then, that was about 8 years ago, was to look through magazines, and you look at the different styles, you look at editorial, look at commercial, catalog, you look at high fashion, and because they all have a different style. And then you look at, as well at, watch videos of runway and different things like that, and then practice when you're at home. Obviously runway, back in the day, I was practicing my runway walk in my own home all the time, like daily, just, even for 10 minutes, just practicing walking. Now I can just get on a runway without having walked even for however long in between shows, because it becomes second nature. It's like riding a bike. But yeah, that's that, I guess.
That's cool. And Tristan asks, what is a pro magazine shoot like?
Yeah, well, you go on set, whatever call time they give you, and you get your hair, your makeup done, and they usually, the thing that I like about, a pro magazine shoot as opposed to runway is runway, again, is very fast-paced. Even with hair and makeup, you might have some sitting time in between, but with editorial and a high-fashion magazine shoot, you're usually the only model, or there might only be maybe 2 models, or just a few models anyway, as opposed to many for a runway. And so you literally are like the center of attention, and everyone's working on you and for you. And so when I go to a pro magazine shoot, I'm going there, respecting the call time, of course, but they take their time on hair and makeup. They want to make it perfect. Obviously, the hairstylist, makeup artist, and then usually the designer already has, or the magazine producer has, the director has, pictures and images of the style they're going for. For me, a lot of the times, the way, in my experience at least, is they'll show me images of the style of, like, not necessarily the pose, but the look they're going for. And then the photographer will take me, onto the set, whether it's studio or it's outside. I do both. And Pro Magazines, it's both. It's indoor studio and it's also outdoor natural. And then we just shoot and see what happens. And half of it is just literally in your movements. They get the image they're looking for. And a lot of the times it's way faster. You're done so much faster than you would even think it would be done. Half the time it's like they get the shot, Once they get the shot, they get the shot. So.
Right. That's it.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, so the last question I wanted to ask you was, what is your advice for the people that are wanting to take this stuff into the entertainment, into the arts, and all that? What's your advice for them?
Yeah, I would say definitely set your goals, what you are looking for, or like what you're desiring to do, whether it's in acting or in modeling, runway, print. Again, there's so many different avenues to go, and styles, and even like for modeling, like I said, I do some commercial. I can do it all. I can do catalog, everything like that, but definitely my specialty is editorial and high fashion. That's kind of my look, and runway. So once you get kind of your niche of what you suit, and whether again it's modeling or acting or dance or drama, whatever it is, set your goals, and then find people that you can look at who might be a really good role model for you, who is someone that you can look up to and you can learn from, and watch YouTube videos, watch movies if it's an actor, or watch again YouTube clips if it's a model, or look at magazines for images, and find people that you can relate to, that is a style that you're going for and that is your style as well. Even body type, look at that, and once you find that, begin to study it. That's like anything, you study in order to get better, and then practice. Practice makes perfect, and like I said, in the beginning of my modeling career, I would practice walking runway everywhere I'd go, and that was one of the things that I learned and that I was instructed to do from my runway coach, from my modeling and commercial coaches, was, even on the streets, practice walking, and wherever you're at, practice posing, practice walking in front of a mirror, practice, and again, if you're an actor, then practice lines, and write script and practice as much as you can, and then find I would suggest to any arts and entertainment aspiring artist to find every opportunity that you can, look, because I've done obviously major magazines and professional things, but it took steps to get there, and I would suggest taking the opportunities that you can, where you feel comfortable, of course. Like I said, I have high morals, so there's things that I turn down because it doesn't suit my morals. But find the opportunities that you can, whether it's high paying or not. I've done both, because you have to start somewhere in order to get somewhere.
Yeah.
So hopefully that helps.
That's great. No, I love that. So thank you so much for coming on and for speaking to the audience.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for watching. And thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to have you on this first episode. I'm so honored, and thank you for inspiring so many people.
Thank you. And all the best.
Yes, thank you for watching. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.